Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hello, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 8, Things Past. The Deep Space Nine crew, or a few of them, relive events from the occupation and uncover Odo's secret shame.
And we finally get to see Garrick again.
Yes, he's presumably fresh out of prison after being chucked in a cell for 6 months.
Still looks great.
Well, of course, it's Garrick. He's a snappy dresser.
Prison suits him.
I see what you did there.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So we've got another occupation episode, and it was suspiciously like a time travel episode, except it wasn't. Which is good, because time travel is always bad. Well, it's overused.
It's overused in general, and then it's already pretty overused in Deep Space Nine.
Well, time travel is fun, but it is also, you kind of get stuck in a rut with it because, oh no, we've altered the timeline, we have to put it back, blah 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 blah, all that stuff.
Having said that, I'm glad they found a gimmick for us to revisit Terek Nor, because it's an interesting setting and we haven't seen it much at all, because why would we? This was a great excuse.
The angle they took was satisfactory, even if the explanation at the end was a bit wishy-washy. I can handle a vague and silly explanation if the rest of the episode is good enough for my emotions to be satisfied.
So were your emotions satisfied?
Yeah, it's good. You got that Terek Nor stuff, the occupation, Garrick getting a taste of his own medicine, and the weird inconsistencies in the timeline. It was very creepy when the shapeshifter turns up.
That made my brain go in a different direction than what they did.
Why am I not surprised? Go on then, out with it.
So when we find out that guy's a shapeshifter, I thought we would find out that Odo had lied about the past and that he posed as the head of security as that guy, disguised as that guy, and then something happened where that guy fell out of favor and then he changed into his real form to head security. This doesn't make any sense, which is probably why they didn't do it.
So he pretended to be the guy from that 70s show.
And also RoboCop.
And then made a mess of things. Where did you get this from? This makes no sense.
I know, I dropped it quickly, but it did spring up in my mind. I was trying to reconcile with the inconsistencies that were popping up, and yeah, I was trying to reconcile that because I was still thinking they were actually in the past and not some weird dream thing.
It's designed to be completely confusing because up until that point you've got the years don't quite add up, so you know something is afoot. The timeline's not quite right, but when that comes in, it's a complete curveball. So you're supposed to not understand how it can link up, how it can great link up.
Nice one.
Thanks.
I like the idea that Odo has changeling residue in his brain.
He's not as solid as he thinks.
It also sets up future plots if they want to exploit that. Maybe the founders get bored and mess with Odo some more.
Well, they could go back into his dreams.
This episode made me think of Inception because of the whole dream thing, and there's a master dreamer. And then also The Matrix, because we see them lying there, and then stuff that happens in the dream affects them in the real life. We see Garrick with his bloody nose.
It was very Matrix-like in that regard, which is cool because it predates The Matrix by several years. So obviously they copied this episode and Ghost in the Shell to make The Matrix.
We found the true origin. To go back to my crazy idea that doesn't make any sense, I think I wanted that to be Odo in disguise because... Oh, wait, that was a different guy. Well, when he's arguing in the prison cell, I wanted him to be arguing with himself. And I thought that would be cool.
Well,
in a sense, he is.
It is, yes. That wasn't Thrax, that was Odo.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was Thrax on screen, but the reveal at the end is that it was Odo who took these actions, and he's responsible for killing off 3 random Bajoran dudes that no one cares about.
Okay, so they did do what I wanted, just in a different way.
Your idea was correct. You're just so conditioned to thinking that your ideas are wrong, you didn't even realize. You're 100% correct.
That scene is great. It's so powerful how he's yelling at himself because he knows how it ends up and he knows the mistakes he made at that time. And it reminds me of thinking back on mistakes you've made and, oh, if I had just thought about this one thing, I would have done that correctly. How we've all had those moments, and here's Odo having to relive it.
If anyone goes back in time and meets themselves from about 10 years ago, they'll invariably end up kicking the pip out of themselves. What's wrong with you, you idiot?
And if you don't think that 10 years later, then what have you been doing?
Stagnating. They did something in this episode which they don't usually do in weird situations, which is test if it's a holodeck.
Oh, I love that. There are always these moments in movies and television where you think, why don't they just do this or Google this? And then immediately Cisco, oh, if this is a holodeck program, let's just end it. And then it doesn't work. That was a fantastic little piece there.
And I love that he doesn't rule it out. He just says, well, for now, let's assume it's not. Because obviously if they were trapped in a holodeck thing, they would turn off the computer functions, as has happened in many next-gen holodeck episodes.
How great would it be if they didn't, and then they just ended the situation?
A bunch of alien guys looking in like, yeah,
oh
we
man,
should have thought of that. If I travel back in time to this morning, I'm going to kick the pip out of myself for not realizing that. At the same time as Odo was making helpful suggestions about holodecks, he was also frustrating me by needlessly holding back information.
That and Garrick and Cisco didn't pick up on it until way later. He's obviously holding back.
They did pick up on it, so some credit.
Eventually.
Odo's a bit of a solid now, so he's no doubt acting funny. It is so unhelpful, though. Your friends are trapped in this situation, and he must know that it results in their deaths, so he's just concealing a whole bunch of info.
I think what he's going for is, maybe I can solve this on my own, and then I don't have to reveal my shameful secret.
Yes, that's not a practical solution, though.
Well, he's an imperfect solid.
He's got blood on his hands. The ending of this episode, and the episode itself, mirrors the Season 2 episode, Necessary Evil, where It turns out Kira killed a Bajoran collaborator during the occupation.
Was that the last time we saw something of Tarek Noor? I can't remember.
I believe so, yes.
I took issue with the ending of this one.
You did?
It seems like Kira is demanding perfection from Odo. He's already proved that he was trying to do his best and he slipped up here, and then she's mad at him. Okay, innocent lives died, but there was no malice. I don't like how harsh she was.
Would she have been so harsh if he'd accidentally let some Bajoran terrorists go free and then later found out that they did kill someone or something? And the answer is no. She would probably say, yeah, well, we were the good guys, so didums.
But it is an emotional subject for her, so I see that part of it.
Well, she's very invested in Bajor's political history, so she held Odo to a higher standards than the Cardassians, and she's more liable to be swayed emotionally by the fact he let innocent Bajorans die. I'm sure she's fine with it. She killed a Bajoran dude for reasons. So she'll be fine by the next episode, don't worry. Also, I think in this episode Nana Visitor was fake pregnant now?
I couldn't tell.
She was in Trials and Tribulations, which was filmed before The Assignment. She was in The Assignment in voice only, probably put in post. I believe she gave birth during the filming of Let He Who Is Without Sin ... So this marks her return to the show post-pregnancy. Thus, I would think she's fake pregnant here. Which would suck if you've just been pregnant for 9 months and now you have to wear a fake pregnancy suit.
Thought I was done with this.
Oh, hey, I've just noticed a mistake.
What's that?
They state that Bajorans are pregnant for 5 months.
Isn't it 6?
I believe it's 5, but either way. Garak was imprisoned for 6 months for attempted genocide. And that is after Kira became pregnant.
Ah, but Garrick was let out early for good behavior.
Yeah, sure. Attempted genocide has no restrictions on parole or anything. Well, you haven't done it again from your jail cell, so you're free to go.
Exactly.
We'll keep an eye on you. If you even as much as dabble in genocide, you're going right back in the can.
Also, thanks for these suits.
As if Garak would bribe a jailer.
Only if he thinks it'll work.
Well, you say that, but he tried to bribe a guy in this episode, kind of expecting it not to work for an ulterior reason.
Garrick works in mysterious ways.
He actually does. That was pretty swish, because when he gets punched in the face, you think, oh, Garrick, you know what you used to be. Then 2 minutes later, he's like, haha, I pinched his iPad. Swift fingers Garrick.
It's a great reveal because you think he messed up, and then, nope, he's still Garrick.
Well, he is the character of misleading your expectations, so it's good when he does that.
So you mentioned Kira's makeup, and I noticed something about Quark's makeup, and that's he doesn't have the dark coloring around his eyes here. I presume it's to make him look younger because this is in the past, but it stuck out to me.
I didn't notice. It could just be the lighting.
I thought about that too, because Tarek Noir is so dark. Maybe it was too dark if they added in his typical makeup patterns, but it was
Look like a
different.
panda.
So maybe Ferengi develop dark spots around their eyes as they age.
Quite possibly. Except the Grand Negus doesn't have big dark patches, and he's all wrinkly and melting.
So that's just Quark. Also, they casually talk about possibly offing Quark.
Yeah, that Cisco's prejudice for the Ferengi and Odo's prejudice for Quark showing through.
It's funny, but then at the same time, Cisco did not hesitate at all.
It's an inappropriate thing to say to your commanding officer, hey, let's kill this guy. And then it's even worse for him to say, ha ha ha, that might be a laugh. Even if you're joking, it doesn't have that sort of Starfleet professional attitude that you would have hoped for.
It creates an unusual working culture that I don't see Starfleet approving.
If you want to make a pile of evidence that he's a psychopath, then you can put that comment about casually murdering Quark onto the evidence pile.
That evidence pile is already a mountain at this point.
Well, I don't disagree. I'm not going to promote the Cisco is a psychopath theme, but I can sympathize with where you're getting it from. He has a mean streak. A cold, hard mean streak that dominates his life in every action he takes.
Cisco is often so detached from a mission. It's funny because it'll be high tension and he'll just crack a joke and it'll be totally inappropriate. And that's what we have here. It's strange when you isolate it. I guess they're simply moments of humor, and that's one way to deal with the stress of the mission. But I still think it's strange.
Cisco is a kind of strange guy.
That's true.
Speaking of strange people, we saw a youthful Ducat in this episode.
Who selects people to be his best friend.
Yep, that was going straight into Awful Town and then jarringly took a turn into Bizarre Creepy Town.
I prefer that town, though.
Oh god, yes. I'm very glad that it was just Creepy Town.
Even though Tarek Noor was a dark time, I'm glad they didn't go the dark way with that storyline.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine, I suppose.
Except Cisco didn't imagine, because when he sees Dax, he says something like, "Oh, she's fine." But he doesn't know if she went through something. Just because she's alive doesn't mean nothing happened.
It's a shame he said that in a way. Moving on to Dax, she was actually bloody helpful. Such a change.
She busts them out.
Smacking the cat in the back of the head when he's going off on one of his mad rants about how he is a father to all Bajorans.
I'm so lonely and great.
That was so satisfying. That's the Jadzia we want to see. In fact, this whole episode, Dax was on the ball. I like it when she's on the ball. She should be all the time.
There's no reason for her not to be all the time.
The older you get, the easier it is to navigate social situations. And she should be ahead of everyone. And she is in this one. She falls into Ducat's trust effortlessly. And then knocks him out and starts busting through walls and stuff.
It's fantastic to see her useful.
One of the rare opportunities for Dax to do something useful. Although, once again, she gets knocked out twice in this episode. I guess it's time to hear a quote.
All right. Everything's tidy when someone else is doing the cleaning, which I do not agree with at all.
You don't?
No, if someone's standards are lower than yours and they clean your room, you'll think this is terrible.
I would think it's great.
Maybe
Someone
you
tidied up in my house. Wow, fantastic.
Maybe I'm just overly meticulous and I'm a tidy person and I want to do the cleaning. I don't want someone else to do it.
In the occupation, though, if you weren't up to the Cardassian standards, you would not last long. So what you should have said is everything's tidy when someone is doing the cleaning at gunpoint.
Okay, yes.
There is a little bit of magic when other people do things like that. For example, when someone else cooks a meal, it always tastes better than when you do it yourself.
Unless you're a world-class chef.
Well, yeah, then it probably tastes disgusting.
Probably tastes vile and you spit it out immediately.
Offended by what they've done to the food.
And you shout at them, "Why have you fed me this garbage?"
Curious fact, I'm actually not a world-class chef, so I don't suffer from that problem. I'm also not a world-class cleaner, so it's nice when people tidy up. Sure, the Kardashians were really grateful for everything the Bajorans did. Taking out the bins, wiping down the counters, stacking up the chairs.
Oh, related to quotes, I really enjoyed when Odo is talking to himself, essentially, that the guy says, "It has been my observation," because that's a very Odo way to phrase something. He's said sentences like that, framed that way, many times before, so that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, he said it in either Homefront or Paradise Lost. He said it has been my observation that when humanoids have to do stuff, they don't do it. It was your quote. So maybe that was a little subtle clue they put in. Good stuff. This episode would have been so hokey if they didn't play it right, but they got it right in the fun zone.
What do you mean if they didn't play it right?
It's the time travel and the going to people's dreams and all this past trauma stuff can come off very sort of ropey and silly, but they did it well. Nice job.
I think anything would have seemed nice after the previous episode. But yes, nice job.
Yeah. I guess you could say it's all uphill from there. Let's go upwards to the next episode.
All right.
Okie dokie.